century in the Himalayas of a West Isa and the debating with according to Isa condemned castes and says that teaches of and divine equality between the teachings attributed to Isa and the words of Jesus in the Gospels is so striking that various scholars have seriously considered the possibility that they might be the same person. Religious authorities have tried to discredit these records, but the details are so specific and the culture described with such accuracy that it would be impossible for a 19th century Westerner to forge such a narrative without having lived or studied deeply in the East. In India, the Vedic schools practiced methods of expanding consciousness that would later be recognized in subtle passages of the Gospels. The use of silence as a tool for accessing the divine, the mastery of breathing to transcend the senses, the focus on the present moment as a gateway to eternity. All these elements are present both in Eastern tradition and in the teachings of the Master of Nazareth. The very concept of the kingdom of heaven not as a place, but as an inner state, is almost identical to Samadhi, the enlightenment described in the Yoga Sutras. Jesus, in preaching that the kingdom is within you, reveals that he speaks not only the language of the prophets, but of a fusion between East and West. It was not about forced syncretism, but about a universal truth that he recognized and fully lived. It is likely that Jesus had visited the learning centers of Benares, participated in the purification rituals at the Ganges, and listened to the Vedic chants under the ancient trees that have witnessed centuries of spiritual revelations. In such places, the soul was considered eternal, the body a vehicle, and the ego an illusion to be transcended. These same concepts later appear in his deeper dialogues, such as in Conversations with Nicodemus, when he speaks about being born again, or when he teaches that he who loses his life shall find it. These are ideas that challenge common logic, but make sense within a spiritual framework that sees the human being as a traveler of eternity. The language of Jesus changes completely after this hidden period, indicating a profound internal reconfiguration. His connection with the Father becomes direct. His understanding of the law transcends the letter and rises to the spirit. The parallels with Buddhism are even more striking. The notion of compassion as a central practice, non-judgment, teaching through parables that break rigid mental structures, all of this resonates with the Buddha's discourses, and more. The idea that suffering stems from spiritual ignorance, that liberation comes through the awakening of consciousness and surrender to the present moment. All these ideas make up the heart of Jesus' teachings. And where else could he have learned such principles, if not in places where these truths had been flourishing for centuries? The connection between enlightened souls is not dependent on borders. Christ recognizes Buddha not by name but by vibration. He understands that truth is not the property of one religion, but an eternal call of the human soul to its divine origin. During his journey through ancient Persia, Jesus may have come into contact with the descendants of the Zoroastrian Magi, keepers of a doctrine where fire symbolizes the light of consciousness and good battles evil not through violence, but through a conscious choice for truth. There, he would have learned about cosmic cycles, about the struggle between light and shadow within each being, and about the mission of divine messengers who appear in times of spiritual crisis to rekindle the spark in sleeping souls. This knowledge reappears in his speeches when he warns about the wolves in sheep's clothing and the need to keep the lamp lit. Fire as a symbol of divine presence, also found in the Hebrew tradition, gains in Jesus a vibrational depth that could only have been refined by direct contact with these initiatic centers. Egypt, in turn, kept in its mystery school's teachings about spiritual rebirth, the journey through the invisible world, the activation of the body's energy centers, and the ascension of the soul to the divine throne. It's hard to ignore that many of these teachings were inscribed on the walls of the temples of Luxor, Karnak, and in the symbolism of the pyramids, which were not just tombs, but genuine spiritual laboratories. Jesus, when speaking about the Father's house with many rooms, about the narrow path, and about seeing without eyes and hearing without ears, is clearly aligned with the initiatory language of Egypt, where perception was trained to go beyond the five senses. He was saying, there is more than the eyes can see. Reality does not end with matter. There is a subtle world that sustains everything, and only the awakened heart can access it. These encounters were not merely learning experiences, but true initiations. Each spiritual culture he came into contact with prepared him for something grand. And it wasn't just about accumulating esoteric knowledge, but about living it intensely, in body and soul. He fasted, meditated, served, was challenged, confronted with inner shadows, until his divine identity emerged with unwavering clarity. This process cannot be learned from books. It is transmitted from heart to heart, from master to disciple. And that's why the oral tradition preserves what books have erased. Because the living truth does not fall silent, it continues to echo in the silence of the deserts, in the chants of ancient temples, and now, within those who listen with the soul. When Jesus returns to the land of his ancestors, he is no longer the same. His presence is different. His authority does not come from tradition, but from an invisible cosmic source. He speaks as one who has seen the unseen, as one who has pierced the veils of reality and returned with a map for the human soul. His miracles are not tricks, but manifestations of universal laws that he has learned to master. His compassion is not sentimentality, but the direct result of understanding that we are all expressions of the same one. His steadfastness is not rigidity, but the outcome of someone who has overcome himself. And his sweetness is the natural fragrance of one who has become one with love. These hidden journeys were not deviations from his mission, they were its foundation. The East did not divert him from the truth of Israel, it deepened him. It showed him that the covenant with God goes beyond a people, a scripture, or an institution. It is eternal, intimate, and can only be sealed in the intimacy of the awakened heart. Jesus did not abandon his Hebrew root. He expanded it to infinity. He understood that the light that guided Moses was the same that illuminated the wise men of India, became the living reflection of unity. Today, understanding these journeys is not just historical curiosity. It's reconnecting with a truth that can set us free. It means remembering that we are all spiritual travelers, that each culture holds fragments of the whole, and that Christ did not come to establish a religion, but to light a beacon within each soul. The path he tread outside of Israel is the same one we are all called to tread within ourselves, a sacred journey towards awakening. In a time when the world still whispered the secrets of the soul through symbols, Egypt shone like a mystical beacon that spanned the centuries with its ancient wisdom. Jesus, in his quest to understand the divine not as an idea, but as a living experience, would have crossed the portals of this civilization where spirituality and science were one and the same. Egypt was not merely a place of tombs and pharaohs. It was the cradle of a knowledge that saw the human being as a microcosm of the universe, a living temple to be deciphered and elevated. In this land of gods and initiates, the mysteries of Isis and Thoth were only passed on to those who proved ready to symbolically die and be reborn as beings aware of their divine origin. And it is precisely this invisible rite of passage that would have marked the soul of the young master, shaping him to become the one who would later be recognized as Christ. Thoth, the scribe of the gods, was the master of wisdom, patron of the initiated, and guardian of the secrets of creation. His teachings were not concepts, but experiences that led the disciple to awaken their cosmic memory, activate their higher mind, and transcend the boundaries of linear reality. At the heart of his doctrine was the idea that the entire universe is mind, and that visible reality is merely a projection of the invisible. Jesus, in stating that what you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, reflects this hermetic principle of correspondence. He was not merely repeating teachings, he was embodying a universal truth he learned in the depths of the Egyptian temples, where each symbol, each ritual, each word was a vibrational code to reconnect the being with the whole. Those initiated into the mysteries of Isis underwent trials involving absolute silence, descent into inner darkness, and direct contact with their own primal fears. Isis, the goddess of the soul, represented the feminine principle of creation, the veil that both conceals and protects the sacred. To reach her, the initiate had to pass through the 7 veils, the 7 energy centers, which we now know as chakras. The journey was internal, and the temple was the body. Understanding this symbolic structure clarifies the depth of Jesus' words when he said, "The pure in heart shall see God." The purity was not moralistic, but energetic. The heart, when unobstructed, becomes the true eye of the soul. It is possible that in the hidden chambers of Dendera and Edfu, among living hieroglyphs and vibrational chants, Jesus had his first experiences with the inner light, the one that transcends physical eyes. The rituals of the temples of Thoth were guided by mathematical precision and astronomical alignment. Each initiation took place at specific times of the year, in resonance with celestial cycles. This connection between macrocosm and microcosm is revealed in Jesus' own words, when he compares the human being to a mustard seed, to the yeast that leavens the whole dough, to the salt that gives flavor to life. These are metaphors that carry layers of ancient wisdom, where the small reflects the large, and where the individual's consciousness can affect the cosmic order. Jesus did not speak like an ordinary rabbi. His parables were encodings of spiritual truth.